Now, how do we take this emoting and we begin to use it? Well, we have to first start to understand how we see our environment. It's surprising that people don't see things in terms of dimensions. I'm not speaking of science fiction. I'm speaking of dimensions as to where and how things really are. That's what the advanced martial artist is able to do. Able to see, able to feel, able to project into. We're going to start it this way. Look around your room. For the most part, you see all the objects. However, what happens is this, and we'll go over it this way. Height, that's one-dimensional thinking. Height and width, that's two-dimensional thinking. Height, width, and depth, that's three-dimensional thinking. We live and act and work in the third dimension. However, it's interesting when we use a cursory look around the room, we don't see all three dimensions. We have a tendency to look at things in two dimensions. I'm sure that television and other things has helped us to adapt that way, but it's something we've lost as human beings. When we are looking at things in two dimensions, here's our problem. We limit what our nerve reaction is. Let's say, for example, you and I are engaged in a grappling situation. In terms of the grappling situation, when I push against you and you push against me, you only see the height and the width of me. Result factor is that your mind and your nerve reactions have a tendency to go two-dimensional. Now, same scenario. We're in a grappling situation, although you see me across from you in two dimensions, you realize that I have a back and you have a back. And so therefore, when you're grappling, if you use your proprioception and think in terms of our back, when you try to twist and turn me, you'll do it in an entirely different way than you would if you were only looking at me face on and seeing me and reacting to me in two dimensions. In truth, yes, there are three dimensions. We live in a three-dimensional world, but there's a fourth dimension we don't even explore. And the advanced martial artist understands 1, 2, 3, and 4 dimensions. Let me give you an example. Here's the box. The box has width, the box has height, the box has depth. But also, the box has, at a different dimension, it has width and it has height on the top. And it has width and it has height at the rear. Therefore, a good martial artist is not only able to see what presents himself, but he sees the box from all angles simultaneously. So if you have good three-dimensional vision, that's what you're able to do. When you're able to do that, it will give your body a whole different reaction and set of reflexes that'll be very, very good for you. Well, what's the fourth dimension? In the human body, the fourth dimension is the inside. I'm grappling with you, you're grappling with me. And so therefore, do I wrestle against your outer shell? Inside of your body are all your muscles, all your nerves, all your organs, your brain. And so therefore, they are also engaged with internal pressures and signals to make the outside body work. And it's the nerves on the inside that are reading what's happening on the outside body. So a resultant factor is that if you can imagine or do your techniques as if you know I have an outside, but I have an inside, and you know that you have an outside and an inside, the two of us are now engaged in an interesting movement. in which we're trying to manipulate all of those things. Now, don't go for the fourth dimensional thing. Think I'm talking crazy? Let's look at it. Here's the box. I open the box. The inside of this box exists just as much as the outside of this box. And they are existing simultaneously. The resultant factor is that if I'm dealing with the box, then I must see the box from the inside, and I must see the box from the outside simultaneously. Only then can I make great changes and variations in the box. Stop learning your techniques, technique number 1, technique number 2, technique number 3. You're only seeing, as the Chinese would say, pai mao, the skin and the hair, the outside of the technique. Something is happening on the inside, at the same time something's happening on the outside. Last tip to my grappling friends. I've grappled for years also. The body's motions, when it makes motions, are like this. If I voluntarily stiffen my arm like this, then I can't utilize the motion. When you're grappling with an individual, if the pressures that you're exchanging back and forth are making your body stiffen more and more and more, then you've taken away your ability to use your maneuvers and techniques. Does that make sense? Stop pushing each other into the ground. Learn about the physiology and kinetics of the body. And then you can truly, as the Oriental said, become one with your opponent. His deltoids lift, his triceps straighten, his biceps bend. So do yours. So why are you going to fight against him and make it all lock and stiffen? When what you really want to do is you want to help him to function, but function in a way which takes away his balance, making him easier to take down or throw. That's another tip. A little abstract. I hope I didn't lose anyone. Remember, your mind and your emoting is how you do things. And you do things according to the real naturalness of the way the body's supposed to move. Take into consideration first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension. Last tip. You're sitting in a room that has a ceiling, it has floors, it has walls. You're sitting in the fourth dimension of this building, or whatever building that you're in. The outside has its top dimension, its side dimensions, and its bottom dimensions. You're sitting on the inside of the dimensions of the third dimension of the outside. Have a laugh with yourself. It's all very, very silly, but it's all very true.